1 year. That's it. We are looking at a king of Judah who sat on the throne for a single solitary year.
Yeah.
If you blink while you're reading the history books, you might miss him entirely. But when you actually stop and dig into the accounts of King Ahaziah, you realize that this 1 year, it wasn't just a blip.
No, not at all. It was the climax of a multi-generational disaster. It's like the car crash at the end of a very long, very fast joyride.
Ah, that's a good way to put it.
I mean, Ahaziah isn't just some minor character. He is the man standing at the exact intersection where the two most powerful Hebrew dynasties, the House of David and the House of Ahab, collide.
And he gets crushed between them.
Completely crushed.
It's a political thriller, a war story, and a theological warning shot, all wrapped up in one guy's very short life. So for this deep dive, we're pulling from the historical records in 2 Kings, specifically chapters 8 and 9.
And the parallel account in 2 Chronicles chapter 20.
Exactly. And honestly, the differences between how those two books tell the story are just as interesting as the story itself.
Absolutely. 2 Kings gives you that sort of on-the-ground political assassination vibe, while 2 Chronicles, it pulls back the curtain to show you the theological mechanics, the why behind the what.
So our mission today is to figure out how a king of Judah, who had every advantage of the Davidic line, ended up dead in a ditch in the northern kingdom, wiped out by a man named Jehu.
And to understand the end, you really have to go back to the beginning, because Ahaziah's rise to power was, well, it was chaotic.
Chaotic is putting it mildly.
It was bloodbath.
I was looking at the background notes on his ascension, and it's just brutal. Usually succession is simple. The king dies, the oldest son steps up, everyone bows.
But that is not what happened here.
Not at all. 2 Chronicles 21 tells us that the band of men who came with the Arabs into the camp had killed all the older sons.
Right. And you need the context there. This wasn't a peaceful time. Judah was getting hammered by its neighbors.
The Philistines, the Arabs.
Exactly. They're staging these raids. So this wasn't, a full-scale occupation, but it was a decapitation strike against the royal family. They broke into the king's house and essentially wiped out an entire generation of heirs.
So Ahaziah is the youngest. He's the scraping of the barrel, so to speak.
He's the spare to the spare to the spare. In a stable world, Ahaziah probably becomes a duke or a governor, lives a quiet life of luxury.
Sure.
But because of this geopolitical instability, these raids from the desert tribes, he is the last man standing. He takes the throne, not because he was the best choice or even the prepared choice.
No, because he was the only choice.
The only one.
And that sets such a desperate tone right from day one. You have a young king, he's only 22 according to Kings, coming to power in a vacuum. And naturally, when there's a vacuum, someone steps in to fill it.
And this is where the story shifts.
From a war drama to a family drama, we have to talk about his mother, Athaliah. Now, this is where I got stuck in the text for a bit. I was comparing the translations. In 2 Kings 8.18, it says, Ahaziah's father married the daughter of Ahab. Okay, simple enough.
Right.
But then in verse 26, the text calls Athaliah the granddaughter of Omri. And I thought, wait, which is it?
And it feels like a contradiction or at least some confusion, but it's actually a very specific branding choice by the author.
Branding. How so? We know Ahab was Omri's son, so biologically she is both. Why does the text go out of its way to call her granddaughter of Omri? That feels so deliberate.
It is deliberate.
Yeah.
To understand why, you have to understand who Omri was. To the modern reader, he's just a name in a list. But historically, Omri was a titan.
Okay.
He was the founder of the northern dynasty. He built the capital city of Samaria from scratch.
He was the one who really put Israel on the map, internationally speaking.
Exactly. I mean, even a century later, the Assyrian records, we're talking massive superpowers of the day. They didn't refer to the kingdom of Israel. They called it Bit-Humri, the house of Omri.
Wow.
He was that significant. He represented raw political power, wealth, and military might.
So when the Bible introduces Athaliah as the granddaughter of Omri, it's not just giving us her family tree.
No.
It's giving us her resume.
It's stamping her with the brand of the Omride dynasty. It's saying, look, this woman isn't just a wife, she is an imperial operator. She carries the weight and the ideology of the most powerful and also the most idolatrous dynasty in the region.
And that ideology wasn't exactly compatible with the kingdom of Judah.
They were oil and water, or they should have been. Judah was the land of the temple, Torah, the covenant with Yahweh. The house of Omri, and by extension Ahab and Jezebel, was built on Baal worship, political tyranny, and just ruthless pragmatism.
But Ahaziah, he opens the door to all of that. 2 Chronicles 22.3 has that chilling line.
I know the one.
He also walked in the ways of the house of Ahab, for his mother was his counselor to do wickedly.
That phrase, counselor to do wickedly, is fascinating. It implies she wasn't just, a nagging mother. She was his chief of staff. She was shaping policy.
And because he was young and came to the throne through all that trauma, he leaned on her.
He had to. And through her, he leaned on her family.
Yeah.
The text says his counselors were from the house of Ahab. So you have to picture this.
Right.
You're in Jerusalem. You're in the city of David. But the people whispering in the king's ear, the people drafting the treaties and setting the religious calendar, they're all Amorites. They're all northerners.
The borders had effectively dissolved.
Right.
Spiritually and politically, Judah had just become a franchise of the house of Ahab.
It really had. And that brings us to the fatal alliance. Because this wasn't just about, worshiping the wrong statutes. This had real-world military consequences.
This is the part that often gets skipped over, but it's so crucial for understanding why he died. Ahaziah makes a military pact with Joram, the king of Israel. Now, Joram is his uncle, right? Athaliah's brother.
Correct. So it's a family business.
But looking at the map, this alliance makes total sense. We talked about the Philistines and Arabs attacking from the south and west. But in the north, you have the Aramean Syria under King Hazael. And Hazael was a monster. He was just tearing up the region.
Hazael was an existential threat. If you were a secular historian looking at this, you say Ahaziah did the smart thing, the realpolitik move.
Absolutely. You have a superpower breathing down your neck. You team up with your neighbor. You consolidate your forces.
Of course. A unified front of Israel and Judah stands a much better chance against Syria than 2 separate kingdoms.
So he joins the war. He marches his troops up to Ramoth-Gilead to fight alongside Uncle Joram against Hazael. It's the smart move.
It's the smart political move. But the Bible argues that it was the fatal spiritual move. By marching to Ramoth-Gilead, Ahaziah was physically and symbolically standing shoulder to shoulder with a dynasty that God had already marked for destruction.
And the cracks start to show almost immediately. The battle at Ramoth-Gilead doesn't go well.
No, it's a stalemate at best. Joram gets wounded. The text says the archers hit him. He's not dead, but he's out of commission. He has to retreat to his winter palace in Jezreel to recover.
And here is the pivot point. The war is paused. The king of Israel is wounded in Jezreel. Ahaziah is safe in Jerusalem. He could have stayed home.
Could have sent a fruit basket.
Right. But he decides to go visit.
And 2 Chronicles 22.6 says he went down to see Jehoram, the son of Ahab, in Jezreel because he was sick. It seems like a gesture of loyalty, a get-well-soon visit.
But the text in Chronicles adds this heavy editorial note right there. It says, the destruction of Ahaziah was from God in that he went to Joram.
It frames the whole road trip as a divine setup.
It's the trap snapping shut.
It is. And Jezreel isn't just a city. In the biblical narrative, it's a crime scene waiting for justice. It's where Naboth was murdered by Ahab and Jezebel to steal his vineyard. It's the place where the prophet said the dogs would lick up the blood of Ahab's house.
So by going to Jezreel, Ahaziah walked onto the firing range right as the target practice was starting.
That's it, Jehu.
Now, we need to set the scene for Jehu. He isn't a politician. He isn't a diplomat. He is a commander in the Israelite army, stationed at the front lines in Ramoth-Gilead.
And while Joram is away licking his wounds, a prophet shows up, pours oil on Jehu's head, and tells him, strike down the house of Ahab.
And Jehu doesn't hesitate. I mean, the description of him in 2 Kings 9 is incredibly cinematic. He gets in his chariot and just heads for Jezreel. And the watchman on the tower sees him coming from miles away.
The famous line, the driving is like the driving of Jehu the son of Nimshi, for he drives furiously.
He's driving like a madman. You can feel the tension building.
You really can. The watchman calls out, I see a cloud of dust. Joram sends a messenger out. Is it peace? Jehu doesn't even slow down. He just kidnaps the messenger. What do you have to do with peace? Fall in behind me.
And he does this twice. The tension is just ratcheting up. Finally, Joram, the wounded king, and Ahaziah, our king of Judah, they decide to ride out in their own chariots to meet him.
Thinking, surely this is just urgent news from the front.
They have no idea they are riding out to meet their executioner.
And the irony is just palpable. They meet him on the property of Naboth the Jezreelite, the exact spot of the family's greatest crime.
Joram yells out, "Is it peace, Jehu?" And Jehu's response is one of the coldest lines in Scripture.
It is. What peace can there be so long as the harlotries and sorceries of your mother Jezebel for so many?
And that's the moment the trap springs. Joram screams, "Treachery! Ahaziah!" and he turns to flee.
And Jehu draws a bow, and the text notes he drew it with his full strength and shoots Joram right through the heart.
But Ahaziah is right there. He's sitting in the chariot next to him. He sees his uncle, his ally, the man he built his whole foreign policy around, just drop dead, and Ahaziah runs.
He flees. And this is where the accounts in Kings and Chronicles give us slightly different angles on the death, but the result is the same.
Yeah.
Jehu isn't satisfied with just the king of Israel.
No.
He yells, "Shoot him too."
It's that collateral damage we talked about. Jehu's mandate was to wipe out the house of Ahab. Ahaziah wasn't technically the head of that house. He was Davidich.
But he had made himself an honorary member. He was guilty by association. But more than that, he was guilty by participation.
He was wearing the jersey of the opposing team.
That's a great way to put it. Jehu's men chase him down. They strike him in his chariot near Blam.
And he makes it to Megiddo, and there he dies. A king of Judah dying in a foreign fortress, running from a judgment that wasn't even originally meant for him.
I mean, think about the indignity of it. He doesn't die in battle fighting for his people. He doesn't die in his bed surrounded by family.
Yeah.
He dies as a fugitive in the purge of another nation's dynasty.
And then the aftermath. Jehu continues his rampage. He kills Jezebel. He kills the 70 sons of Ahab. He kills the worshippers of Baal. It's a complete system reset for the north. But back in Jerusalem, the news reaches Athaliah that her son is dead.
And instead of mourning, she seizes power. She realizes that with Ahaziah dead and the Northern Alliance shattered, she's the only thing left of the Amorite power structure in the south.
So she attempts to wipe out the rest of the royal family of Judah to secure her own rule, that's a story for another day, but it underscores just how catastrophic Ahaziah's reign was.
Yes.
His alliance didn't strengthen Judah. It almost led to the extinction of the line of David.
Which creates a so what that is really uncomfortable to sit with.
Let's dig into that so what, because looking at this, I see a guy who was just trying to survive. He survived the Arab raids. He tried to survive the Syrian threat by making allies. He tried to survive the Jehu coup by running away.
But every move he made tightened the news.
It did.
The theological takeaway from the chronicler is that you cannot find security in ungodly alliances. And I don't mean that in a trite, don't hang out with bad kids way. I mean structurally.
Okay.
Ahaziah looked at the house of Ahab, at its wealth, its military might, its impressive capital, and he said, that is where my safety lies.
He bet on the wrong horse. He bet on power rather than principle.
Precisely. He looked at the geopolitical map and thought, if I align with the North, I'm safe. But he failed to look at the spiritual map, which showed that the North was crumbling from the inside out due to corruption and idolatry.
So it's the difference between political fallout and divine judgment. We asked at the start, was his death just bad luck, being in the wrong place when a coup started? Or was it judgment?
And the text demands we see it as both. The political reality was the vehicle for the judgment. He was in the wrong place because his heart was in the wrong place.
He was with Joram physically because he was with Joram spiritually.
That's it. Collateral consequences. You mentioned that term earlier.
Yes.
It's the idea that when you align yourself with a system or a person that is destructive, you don't get a pass when the bill comes due just because you didn't really mean it or because you were just being pragmatic.
If you stand on the tracks with the train, you get hit by the train.
You get hit by the train.
It's a heavy lesson on identity. It feels like Ahaziah never really established who he was. He was Jehoram's son, Athaliah's puppet, Joram's ally. He was just a mirror reflecting everyone else around him.
And a king, or any leader, really cannot just be a mirror. You have to be a source of light. You have to have a grounding that is independent of your immediate allies. Ahaziah lacked that. He was just driftwood in a hurricane.
It makes you wonder how things would have gone if he had just stayed in Jerusalem. If he had said, you know what, Uncle Joram, I hope you feel better, but this is your mess. I'm going to focus on rebuilding Judah.
He might have lived. The dynasty might have stabilized sooner. But the pull of the Amorite culture, the glamour of it, the connection to his mother, it was just too strong.
It's a tragic story, but I think that's why it's in the canon. It's not there to be depressed about. It's there to wake us up. It forces us to look at our own pragmatic choices.
Right. We all have moments where we think, well, I don't agree with this group's ethics, but they can help me get that promotion. Or I know this alliance is a bit shady, but it secures my financial future.
And the ghost of Ahaziah is standing there saying, watch out for the guy driving the chariot furiously.
Exactly. Check your alliances, because when the house comes down, it comes down on everyone inside.
Well, on that cheerful note, but seriously, it is a Powerful deep dive. Ahaziah, the survivor who couldn't survive his own compromises.
A fascinating, if tragic, figure.
Thanks for unpacking the history and the theology with us. It turns out 1 year of history can hold a lifetime of lessons. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Goodbye, everyone.